Hey guys, Leafy Green Tree here. Just thought I'd talk to you today about how to change the spark plugs in your H3 Hummer. Now, there are other videos out there, and actually I found those pretty helpful. They missed a couple things, and I just thought I'd throw those into mine here a little bit, and I will actually put links to those other videos that have showed how to change the spark plugs on an H3 Hummer in the description. The Hummer, as many may or may not know, has been built on a Colorado chassis. So that said, this would also probably apply to that as well. The first thing I want to tell you to do before you do this, whenever you work with cylinders or pistons or spark plugs, whatever it may be, is to clean your vehicle. Now, last night this thing was filthy. It was filled with the Chicago salt and snow. I went out and gave it a wash. I know that seems kind of crazy, but give it a wash. You want to always have a clean surface to work with. So as you can see, the vehicle is clean and well maintained, of course. And that's the first thing. Let's show you the next set of things that you're going to need to work on these spark plugs. The tools you're going to need is pretty simple. This is going to be used to take off two bolts inside using both a 8mm socket and a 10mm socket. You're also going to use this to take off two hoses, which we'll show you in a minute. And then of course we're going to use the big guy here and the small or the socket for the spark plugs to take those out as well. And then here's our extension arm. These are pretty cool. You can get these for about 12 bucks at Menards or any home care place, tool place. And here's the cool thing about it. I love these things. It's got an extension within it, so you can't go wrong with that. So those are the tools that you're going to need to take care of that. Pretty simple. Now that we've got the hood popped, there's just a couple things I want to warn you about. The first thing is you want to make sure that the vehicle has cooled down. If the vehicle is too hot and you start touching anything in here, you're going to burn yourself. So just let it cool down for at least, I'd say, a half hour to an hour before you start playing with anything. Now, I'm going to point to the things that we're going to be working with, and you're going to think, wow, this is amazing, this is easy. So let's start pointing here. What we're going to be replacing here, we're going to take this off, we're going to take this off, we're going to take this hose off, and this is going to be a little bit of a problem, and I'm going to leave it up to you what you want to do with this. This is just a little bit of it's an electrical bridge, if you will. Your electrical cable goes in here, it's wrapped, and it goes through here. All this is a little bridge, and it's covered, okay? So let me show you the first thing we're going to do. Okay, the first thing we're going to use here is our 8mm socket. And all we're going to do here is we're going to take this hose off first, and we always want to make sure we do it the other way. You don't have to go nuts on this, just to make it loose enough so you can get that off. We'll go over here, get this guy loose. Okay, give this a little wiggle. Okay, give that a little wiggle. And we're going to take this and just put it to the side. Okay, one rule of thumb, whatever you take off, you put it back on the same way. Okay? So that's going to go over here to the side. Alright. Again, using the 8mm socket, we're going to go into here. I got a feel for it, of course. There it is. Once you start feeling the clamp harden up a little bit, you can back off. You don't want to take this all the way out because it could be a pain in the neck to get that back in if you have to. Get this one back here. Okay, that should be good. And when we do this, I'm just going to kind of push that off a little bit. There we go. Good. Next thing I want to do is to back up here a little bit. Next thing I want to do is take the 2 bolts off here on the side. These are with your 10mm. That's loose already. We're going to switch to our 10mm socket, and we're going to take off 2 bolts here. This is what's holding down that housing. We're going to take that one off, and we're going to take that one off. Alright, so that's going to be pretty easy. All we're going to do is just get right in here. We'll start with the, I always like to start with the most difficult first. Anything that's basically in the back. One, two, Alright. And once you've done that, you could actually just twist. Alright. Twist and pull. And then we'll do the same thing to this guy here. Twist and pull. And we'll just put these to the side. Remember, we loosened that hose. Some people, what they'll do is they'll use an 8mm on the first hose. They'll take off the socket. Then they'll go to the 10, take off the bolts. Then they'll go back to the 8, take off those bolts, and then they'll wiggle this thing off. I like to do everything at once. So all we're going to do now, and before I do this, there's a little nub back here. It almost looks like a PCV valve. That's back here. So when you take this, when you wiggle this, lift it straight up. Just watch. Little wiggle, straight up. See that little hose back here? Right there? That goes back into there. See how easy that is? This actually comes off. So, and then there's a little nub right back there. See it? There he is. So that comes right off. And there, as you can see, is what we're going to work with. And I'm actually going to take this off. Which leads to your throttle body here. A little wiggle. There we go. Take this and put it to the side. Alright. Now, when we get in here, you will see that we have our coils. And that's where your spark plugs are hiding. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright. Now, there's a small little problem. Right behind this electrical housing here is the is your fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is your fifth coil. You have to move this back in order to get to it because this whole thing is going to come out, you'll see shortly. There's clips in here. Okay? What I did was, when you take this off, in fact, here, I'll just show you. When you take this off, a little wiggle, you'll see the cables in here, the wiring in there. Okay? See that? These are holding this down. If you look right here, you'll see a little clip. I just lifted this off. It did break the clip, but you could always go to the dealership and get more clips if you really want to weigh this back down. You lift it up and you're good to go. So all I have to do is just kind of lift this up and out of the way, and I can take this out. You want to make sure this is clean, because if you get something in those cylinders here, okay, any of these, dust, whatever, not a good thing. So I'm going to spray this off, and then after I spray it off, I'm going to do one at a time. Like I said, I always like to do the most difficult first, so I'm going to start off with the back one here first. Alright? And what I'm going to do to get to that is we're going to use our 10mm again. And it's always good to try to remember where you put stuff. Keeping that 10 millimeter on. Okay. We're going to go back here and just take that off. And when you put these back on, put them on snug, not tight. So we've loosened it. Now these don't actually come out, as you'll see. Alright, they're in there, so you don't got to worry about losing those. So it's loose. Now we've got that. This comes right up. And it needs to be a little more loose here. Straight up. There's your coil. Isn't that beautiful? And carefully put it to the side. And you will see your spark plug right in there. Ratchet with our extender and Sparky, the Sparky remover. All right. When we take this out, we want to be careful. And when we put it back in, we don't want to tighten it super tight. And make sure you don't cross thread. That's the worst thing you could do. So we're going to go ahead. You might need to climb in here a little bit. And kind of feel it up a little bit. You might need a little more leverage in here. And that might be why I want to get a leverage bar here in a minute. There we go. Oh, by the way, when you do this, make sure you take the battery off. Or not take it off, but take it apart. The cable. I have a remote start in this vehicle. And the last thing I want to happen right now is this goofy thing to accidentally start up. And a whole bunch of nasty can happen. I'll show you what it looks like. There we go. And there she is. Let's take a look at it. Now that's pretty dirty. It looks like it's been in there probably for quite some time. The old AC Delco 125992. Definitely needs to be switched out. You can see the head. That's all a little goofy there. So I'm going to go get another one and put it in there in place of it. Alright, so we got our new spark plug. I prefer Bosch, couldn't find any, so I went with the OEM, which is an AC Delco. This is the Iridium, okay? A little bit better of a spark plug, alright? And what I'm going to do is actually coat this with some lubricant. Get these for a couple bucks, and it tells you the directions on the back here on how to properly do so. Alright, I've coated the spark plug. I put it back in, and you kind of feel it, and you want to slowly get it back in there, okay? If you feel any kind of resistance whatsoever, stop, pull it out, well, thread back, pull it out, and do it again. You do not want to cross thread these things. So we're just getting that in here. Alright. And once, I'm going to hand tighten it here. Okay. 1 second here. It's getting tight. Okay. Grab our socket, or our wrench. Go to tighten. Just a nice little snug. Pull it out. Put our coil back in. Go back to our 10 millimeter. Hand tighten it. Get our wrench. Nice and snug. That's all you need. That first one is done. I'm going to repeat the same process to the other 4. When we're done, I'll show you what to do next. So on this last one, we're going to get right up in here and get right up in there and loosen it up. Take the screw out. And again, those screws don't come out. You can leave those in there. Now I'm going to pull this back. Okay. I'm going to lift the coil straight up and out. Now I see something with this coil here. It looks a little corroded on that. That could pose a small problem. We'll figure that out in a minute. Let's get the spark plug out of there. Again, we got Sparky, the Sparky puller. Now when you do this, make sure you hold on to, whoops, wrong way. Make sure you hold on to the extension, the shaft of it, because you do not want to rattle that spark plug in there. You don't want something to break off, okay? So just kind of hold it. Try to avoid as much wiggling around as possible. Take that off. Hand turn it. Initially, the reason why I was doing this was because there was some thumping in there when the car was idling, when I was at a stop sign. When it was parked, it wasn't as much because there's not as much load on the spark plugs. So I'm hoping this fixes it. If it doesn't, the next thing we would have to do is replace the coil. The coils are about $100. But it looks like this just comes right off, which will be nice. So again, looking at this one's not as bad. As you can see, it's it definitely got some corrosion on it. Well, that explains a lot. That is cracked. That may be why I'm getting some thumping, because I have a cracked ceramic plug there. And what I was doing, as I said, requires just a thin layer of this electrical connector. And all I did was, rather than squeeze it out, just put a little, just kind of stick it in there a little bit, run along the walls. That's plenty. And we're just going to take it and get it just down to the ceramic. This puts a coating on it. Any excess you just wipe off. Just a thin layer, that's all you need on there. Wipe our hands off. Stick it in there. Okay. Turn it upside down. Find the hole. And see how quickly I'm turning that? Because I feel it. It feels good. There's no friction. It's turning nicely. And that's how all 5 of them have been. So we're just going to keep turning until we get to the bottom. And again, I'm kind of drawing this out a little bit because I want you guys to make sure it's like, oh, am I doing this right? Yes, we're all going to go through this together. So you hear it squeaking. That's pretty much it. I'm going to grab my wrench. Excuse me, I belched. All right. Pop it on. And we're going to hold it because, again, we don't want to rattle it around. All right, it's tight. Now I'm just going to go a little snug. That's it. I'm not going to break my back over that. Take that out. This is the beautiful thing about these Hummers, is that they're very easy to do. And you're not dealing with cables and all that stuff. You're dealing with coils instead. So I'm going to push this back, up again and out. I'm going to put that right in top. Kind of just fits right on there. See that? All right. And then all I'm going to do is take my 10mm again. You can hold the coil down if you'd like. And a hand turn it. And as you turn, you'll actually hear it. You know the sound of something when it fills up with water? You kind of hear that. That's what it sounds like when you're turning it. You'll kind of hear it close on itself. Just a little snug turn here. Right about there. That's it. And you're done. You're done. From the time I started to the time I finished, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. One last thing you want to do. Let's check the throttle body real quick. We just want to check the throttle body. This might still be a little toasty. All we're going to do is just open it up here a little bit. And it looks kind of dirty in there. So I'm going to spray some throttle body cleaner in there. They've got the fog. And you basically run the car and you spray the fog in there and it burns it out. Okay, ready to put stuff back. So, first thing I'm going to do is we can try it this way. We'll put this one on first. See the little black tabs here? You just kind of line them up with the other ones there. And then we're going to kind of see if that slides on. And then what we'll do is, we kind of forgot a little nubby friend back here. Perfect. So now that's connected. That's connected. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and get our 10mm bolts. Just pop them in there. 1, 2, tighten those down. Now that we've got that tightened, we are done with the 10mm. Put that back in our box. We're going to come over here and just tighten this down. Tighten that up, and you're done. That is how you give your vehicle a little mini tune-up. One last thing. It doesn't hurt to check your air filter after you've done that. So let's start it up and see what happens. You'll be the first to witness this if it doesn't go right. Hope this worked out for you guys, and hey, thanks for watching.